have some awesome news on the iPhone 15. Some of you might say that it's too early to talk about it, but we actually have tons of fresh new leaks and info, which I think most of you will find very exciting. I have 3 things to cover, 3 pieces of completely new info. Starting off with number 1, we have a new design. And yes, this will actually be a redesign. So leaker Shrimp Apple Pro has just reported that the frame of the iPhone 15 will be getting rounded once again. It won't be fully rounded like the iPhone 6's frame. Instead, only the bottom of it will be rounded, so similar to what we can see from this image here, and similar to some Sony phones. He was also saying that it could look very similar to the iPhone 5C, where the top of it was flat, and then the back was simply rounded, making it easier to hold in the hand. So essentially a mix of the current iPhone 14's frame design and the old iPhone 10 and iPhone 6 design, which I think is really the best of both worlds. Some were even saying that it could look similar to the new MacBook Pros and the new MacBook Air, which is true. Those actually have the same design style as the iPhone 5C. So fully flat on the top, then a flat frame, which actually rounds itself towards the bottom. But the iPhone 5C and the new MacBooks are not the only Apple products with that same design. In fact, if you take a look at the iPod Classic, it too had the exact same design style. So Apple has actually used such a design in the past, which I think makes it even more likely that they will use such a design once again in the future, which will mean that all of their product designs will now be even more unified. If you take a look at the iPhone and the iPad and even the new iMac, they all have a full flat frame design, whereas the new MacBooks have this semi-flat design. Someone even did a quick mock-up of this, of how it could look like, but I think the only issue with such a design would be the glass on the back. Like, will it simply sit flat on the top, like in this example here, or will it actually curve a bit more and blend even more into the frame than it does now? Personally, I would love to see a full metal build, just like the MacBooks. However, wireless charging would simply not be possible with a build like that. But let me know in the comments, what do you think of a design like this? But okay, how accurate is this leak? Well, Shrimp Apple Pro has actually had a number of accurate leaks in the past. The iPhone 14 cases, the Apple Watch Series 8's design, and the iPhone 14 boxes with the RAM configuration and more. However, what I think makes this even more believable is the fact that Mark Gurman has also stated something similar, that the iPhone 15 is expected to have a redesign. And this actually makes sense. If you take a look at the iPhone 12, 13, and 14, they all had the same design for 3 years. And the iPhone 10, 10s, and 11, they too had the same design for 3 years. So it looks like Apple has this 3-year life cycle in terms of the design, which means that the next iPhone, the 15, should be the first one to get a redesign since the iPhone 12. More on the iPhone 15 leaks right after this. So we have a lot of devices in our office, which of course all need charging, but luckily that's where UGREEN's Nexode charger's Black Friday sale comes in. Starting at 30 watts, this little plug brings plenty of speed with foldable pins for easy travel. There's also the 65 watt featuring 2 USB-A ports and 2 USB-Cs, great for charging multiple devices alongside a laptop. For more power, the 100 watt can charge your 14-inch MacBook Pro to 50% in just 30 minutes and features 4 ports for even more devices. The 140 watt can deliver the full power through a single USB-C port, perfect for the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And finally, the 200 watt can charge 2 laptops at the same time, whilst also charging a lot of other devices. Check out UGREEN's up to 40% Black Friday sale by using the link below. And now, back to the video. At number 2, we have titanium. This one is also coming from Shrimp Apple Pro in that same tweet. And we've heard about this before. Apple updating the iPhone's frame, especially the stainless steel, to titanium. In fact, Apple even has multiple patents on matte titanium surfaces, essentially patents that make it look more like aluminium, so a bit more matte, but with the advantages of titanium. They also have patents on how to reduce smudges and fingerprints from titanium finishes. So based on all of this, and the fact that Apple launched a brand new Apple Watch, the Apple Watch Ultra, in titanium only, this kind of point towards Apple launching at some point, probably with the iPhone 15s, a titanium iPhone as well. Now, this will very likely just be with the Pro models of the iPhone, or maybe, just maybe, only that iPhone 15 Ultra. So what sort of advantages would titanium offer over stainless steel? Well, 3. So the first one is simply the strength. Titanium is stronger than stainless steel, which means that if you were to drop it, the chance of the frame scuffing would be less so than with the stainless steel frame. Then 2, stainless steel is also way heavier than titanium, so titanium would be lighter and therefore the iPhones will be easier and more comfortable to use. And 3, less fingerprints based on that Apple patent. For example, the Apple Watch Ultra looks more like aluminium than titanium. It does have a slight gloss to it, but yeah, it's nothing like stainless steel glossy. And it was actually able to withstand fingerprints really, really well. So it could be that the titanium that Apple's using on the Apple Watch Ultra is the same modified version that they had those patents on. Now, personally, I do actually prefer stainless steel, as I do think that it looks more elegant than titanium, although it is a fingerprint magnet. And like I said before, it is also very heavy. The iPhone 14 Pro Max especially was incredibly heavy, and for me at least, it was just not a comfortable phone to use. And number 3, we have transfer speeds. So in our last video on the iPhone 15 leaks, I was talking about how Apple has officially confirmed that they will be complying to EU regulations on USB Type-C, which means that the iPhone 15s most certainly will be including a USB Type-C port. But I actually had some concerns in that video. The base models, so the iPhone 15s, do have USB 2.0 speeds, but then the iPhone 15 Pros, those have USB 3.0 5 gigabit per second transfer speeds. Now, this was simply just my prediction based on what Apple recently did with the iPads. However, a few days later, we had some actual leaks on this. And these came from Ming-Chi Kuo, essentially confirming the switch to USB Type-C with the iPhone 15s, and also the fact that the Pro models of the iPhone 15 will be using a higher speed USB Type-C port than the regular models, which will be sticking to USB 2.0 speeds, although a USB-C port. So essentially what Apple did with the base iPad, and pretty much what I was saying or predicting in the last video. Ming-Chi Kuo was also saying that we should see at least USB 3.2 speeds, if not even Thunderbolt 3 on the Pro models. But okay, what sort of speeds, in terms of the transfer speeds, should we actually expect? So on the regular iPhone 15 models, USB 2.0 means 480 megabits per second, so that's really, really slow. Keep in mind that this is megabits, not megabytes. Now, if we take a look at the USB 3.2 speeds, which is what the iPhone 15 Pros are said to be getting, this is a bit complicated because the standards have changed so much recently. In fact, there are 4 USB 3.2 standards. The first one is USB 3.2 Gen 1 by 1. This is the old USB 3.1 standard with a speed of 5 gigabits per second. The second one is USB 3.2 Gen 1 by 2, which is 10 gigabits per second. Then we have USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 1, so this is the old USB 3.1 Gen 2, and this is also 10 gigabits per second. And then we have USB 3.2 Gen 2 by 2, which is 20 gigabits per second. Yeah, I know, very, very bad naming scheme. So yeah, we don't actually know which type of USB 3.0 standard the iPhone 15 Pro is going to have. And then on top of all of this, we have Thunderbolt 3, which is 40 gigabits per second, although I don't think the iPhone 15 Pro will have Thunderbolt, as it is very expensive. It also needs licensing from Intel. It could maybe have USB 4, which is the open standard, that doesn't need licensing, and it has the same speeds as Thunderbolt 3, but even then, it's still more expensive than USB 3.2. So my personal guess would be USB 3.2 Gen 1 by 2, which is the 10 gigabit per second one. So essentially the same transfer speeds as the new iPad Air, which would make it more than 20 times faster than the iPhone 14 Pro's transfer speeds. Definitely fast enough for ProRes video file transfers, which is the main issue with the iPhones, the Pro models right now. So yeah, new design, a titanium frame, and improved transfer speeds. Of course, that the iPhone 15s have way more changes than just these, so do keep an eye on the channel for some updated videos with some of the other features as well. I'm Daniel, it's ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.